Start, but we're going to get there. I have no idea. There we go. There we go. So I think I'm recording. Let's see if I can share now. You see that?
Yeah.
Oh, yay. Thank you so much. All right, so I'm going to quit sharing that. I'm going to show you my screen again just because I wanted to show you something really quickly. But for the 14th time, no, the third time, Julene Reed here. Excited you're here. And this is Personalized Learning with Microsoft Teams. And unfortunately, Team dropped me for a minute, so I had to leave and come back. So that's why we had to quickly adjust and start the recording again, but we're ready to go again now. So I'm going to stop presenting that, and I'm going to present my whole window so I can show you, for those at home, what I was saying earlier. Those of you who are live with me, you can take the window, whatever window you have the presentation or me in, and then you can slide it to one side with just half a screen. And now you can also take the other window and slide it, make a browser window, get a browser window open and put it on the other side so that you're able to see both me and also see the screen that's going on. So that's a really good tip so that I don't look like a postage stamp when I'm presenting to you. So right now, what I want to show you, I'm going to go back to this and just make it full screen. So we're going to go through these for just a little bit, and then I will share with you we're going to talk about going live so that you can also go live at the same time. So personalized learning, and that's really an important thing right now. And it's already difficult in our classrooms to have personalized learning and to have students who are excelling and students who are struggling and try to teach a large number of students in the middle all at the same time. And so some of the things you can do with Microsoft Teams is to use some of the channels and the different things that they're getting ready to implement in Teams. You can use those with your students. You can use them for grouping if you have different groups working on different projects, and you can use them to personalize the learning. In addition to that, you can personalize learning with assignments, and you can produce personalized learning with things you pass out in class notebook. So there's a lot of different ways to personalize learning. So thinking about all of this, we're going to look at Teams, talk about it for a little bit. We're going to have an overview of class notebook, and then we're going hands-on with both. And then I will share some resources, and we'll take questions because some of you probably have some questions. And thank you for opening your mic up a while ago, because if something goes awry again, either open your mic up or just type it in the chat, because I am monitoring the chat. So on the second screen, Marilyn, you would have this presentation where I am right now, this window you're seeing on half of the window, and then open a browser window like Chrome or Firefox or the Edge browser on the other half. And that way you can be watching what we're doing, and you can also be doing it at the same time. So this is Teams, and you can get to Teams through your portal. You can get to Teams through office.com. And so if I'm in office.com, it just quickly pulls it up, and it's actually open, I think, right here. And I'll show you where it is. So here's office.com. And so this is mine in the Microsoft community. And Teams is just one of the things that I can access here. It's this little purple, these people here in this purple icon. And then you're in Teams right now, or you wouldn't be with me today, because we're in Teams right now. And so if you wanted to get to Teams and create one, you could either go through office.com. You can also, if you already have a team, create one within the Teams infrastructure. And with Teams, you can either use the online version, Office 365, or you can use the desktop version. And it doesn't really matter. You can go back and forth. The one thing with Microsoft, they want the experience in the cloud, the Office 365 version, for all of their apps and everything they do to be the same as the desktop version. That's their goal. They're not there yet. There's still times you're like, I know I can do this, but it's not here. What happened to it? Well, step back and think, am I in the cloud or am I in the desktop version? And if it's not in one, look in the other. And that happens with PowerPoint, with Word, with OneNote, all those things. But know that it's coming. Know that the Mac version someday will be the same as Word. I mean, the Windows version as well. But it's a process, and it takes a lot of work on the back end while they're also trying to do these features that they want to roll out for supporting remote learning, since we are in the place that we are right now. And so know that you can get to it both ways. I just want you to know that. And you can download, when you're in Office 365, you can download desktop versions just by right here in Office 365, it says install Office. And most of you have, and not all, you'll have to check with your district or your organization, but most of you probably have a kind of license in education where you can have up to 5 licenses of Office, one on your work computer, one on your home computer, one on your mobile phone, one on an iPad or any other Windows tablet or whatever tablet you use. And whatever you need, you get 5 licenses. And same with students, just depending on the type of license they have, so you'd have to check on that. So you can download it and get it there. And if you're in Teams, I'll show you how you can get it there as well. So you can create the teams when you're in Teams, and in your dashboard, you can create a team right up here at the top right. And we're going to do that together in just a second. So you can join a team. And this is how you would create it. The way you would know if you're in the desktop version or the browser version is, do you have browser tabs showing at the top? And this works with all of them. So whether you're in the browser version or the desktop version, that's kind of how you know. And just looking at that, you can tell. So the browser will have the tabs at the top. So the next part I just want to show is that there are 4 different kinds of teams. You can have a class team. That's what you're going to have for your classroom. And when you do this, think about, what is the group of students I teach? Do I teach the same group all day long? Is this like a self-contained elementary classroom? Or do I have different groups coming through all day at different periods or blocks of time? And so if you have one group all day long, you're going to have one team for that group. If, however, you have like 5 sections or 5 classes you're teaching, you would want 5 teams, because for each group you teach, you want a team. And so that's where you would be collaborating on projects. PLCs are excellent for what they say, personal learning communities. So those of you, it could be a district, it could be a school, however you want to create it, you have the PLC option. Lots of districts and schools are doing staff members now. So instead of having their faculty handbooks and things on printouts or in notebooks, they are actually all in a team, and they can update them quickly and provide resources there. They can have the faculty meeting notes, all those things. And then you can have teams for personal uses as well. So lots of ways to do that. We're going to walk through this. You're going to have different names. Only one class or one team can have a name. So you'd have to do, if you had multiple sections, you would do period 1 after this, or P1 or block A, or however you do that. And then you'll add some content, and you'll add, the names and the school names, all those different things. And we'll do that together. You can do 2 different ways to populate your students, or actually 3. So you can talk to your district or your school tenant organizer, the administrator for the tenant, whatever kind of organization you're in, school, district, whatever. And they may be using the data sync to pull in all the students and put them in your classes already. So you have a roster, which would be really easy, just that they would show up there. And so I would definitely talk to your tech department and see what the process is. You can also add them by yourself they'll populate, and we'll look at that. And you can have them join with a code, just like you can other things like Flipgrid, or like you might have in Google Classroom. You just have them join with a code, and once they've joined with the code, they're good. So lots of ways to do that. We're going to talk about what channels are, and we'll look at that as we go live. So channels can be added, and then we can also add tabs. So all of these things are kind of review slides for you later, because you'll also have access to this. And actually, these are already here. The ones from this morning I have to still add to the site, where I'm going to share all these slides with you, because everything that I do with PowerPoints with this Microsoft series with Q, I put the PDFs in a OneDrive folder, in a OneDrive location, and then everything's there to be accessed, so you can access them all immediately. And then we'll talk about conversations and what those are and how you can implement those as well for personalized learning. And then we'll look at how we're going to really plan, these is an example of a PLC, but we're going to talk about how we're going to plan this to make it really personalized for our students. And like I said, if you schedule a meeting or anything, you can do it for a channel that's a group, or you can do it for your whole team. So lots of ways to divide things up there too. So they've really made it easy to have lots of ways to divide things up and put them so they're applicable just to project group or just a team group or to everybody. And there's a planner. All these things are built into your team. If you have a staff team, you would have a staff notebook. If you have a class team, you'd have a class team notebook. And so they've really thought about that workflow in teams. How do you make a smooth workflow? We want to make it easy for the students and consistent. With COVID and coronavirus and everything we've done, they don't know where to go, where to find anything half the time, even my grad students. They don't, they need some consistency. They need variety in your meetings so that you're not doing the same thing every day. You want to mix up your learning activities and mix up what you're doing when you're working together synchronously and make it fun and really create those relationships with them or continue those relationships and support that social emotional learning. And on the other hand, for the instructional pieces of the organization of the assignments and everything, you need some consistency. And that's what this really does for us. It lets us share our files. It lets us make announcements and divide students into group and distribute quizzes and collect assignments. So all those things that are consistent. And so we can look at teams, we can look about the workflow through channels, and we'll look at how we can easily share materials. And of course, the beauty of all the teams is the power of Class Notebook. And if you haven't used that much yet, it's a way you can distribute and collect assignments with the Assignments tab, but you can also distribute and collect or distribute sections and pages to notebooks, digital notebooks. And there are other apps that can be integrated. So you can easily put a tab at the top for a website or a tab at the top for a PowerPoint or a PDF or anything like that. So these are all here to be added as well. And the conversations you will find are really powerful. So we'll talk about even the power of just using the chat or the conversation. But pretty much that was just kind of slides that kind of give you the big picture of what all's in Teams. And we're going to go look at it now. We're going to work in it together. We're going to go hands-on. And we can, if you want to, if you really just watch and listen, you're welcome to do that too. But I want you to have the opportunity to do it with me if you'd like. So it's completely your choice which way you do it. And so we're going to go hands-on. I'm going to get rid of the PowerPoint for just a little bit and move it down. And like I said, you can get to it right here, but you're in Teams here. If you have Teams already open because you are in this, you may not be in your account, and you do need to be in your account when you get ready to do this. And this is where you want the browser on one side, and you'll want the team presentation on the other side. This team here has no browser tabs. That's how I know it's the one on my desktop. Where if I have been in Edge and I've been in my other team here, and I went to Teams at this place, it may want me to log in because I hadn't thought about showing you this. Oops, not that one, wrong one, go back. But if I go in here, yep, there we go. That's the one I want. This one has browser tabs. That's how I know I'm online. So you can see that there's the browser tabs in this version. It's the same team, but it's going to be, and it wants me to do this again. I don't know why. Hold on, let's see if it goes this time. Otherwise, we'll just move on. But you can tell when you're in the Teams in the cloud or in OneNote in the cloud or in anything, because you'll be in your browser and you'll have the tabs up there. And then when you're not, you won't see browser tabs. It'll just be the document. So there it is. So this is the same thing we're in now. And if I go back, here's what it looks like there. Here's my desktop version. Let me go back to Teams here. So it's the same thing. Doesn't matter which one you're doing. So going into Teams now, if I look at this, and I want to join over here. Hold on just a second. I'm going to join so I can see the chat. And then I'll be ready to answer questions as they go. All righty, it's over here. Does Immersive Reader show up in Word? It shows up in almost everything, by the way, and I'm sorry I didn't see that earlier. But yes, if you haven't used Immersive Reader, it's amazing. It even shows up in Flipgrid. And it depends on if you're in the desktop version or the browser version where you'll see it. Sometimes it's under view, sometimes it's somewhere else. So just look at the different menu options in whatever tool you're in. And in Flipgrid, it's right there on the screen. You'll find it more and more in lots of different places. It's even, and I love the new Edge Chromium browser. It's awesome. The old Edge was not as awesome. That's enough said. The new one is awesome. But I also know that if I am using Chrome, there is an extension I can get called Immersive Reader, and it's the exact same thing. It is not a Microsoft product. It tells you that right away, but evidently somehow they're working with the company that created it or something, because it's the same thing. So you can also get that extension. And I do love Immersive Reader. It's great for those ESL students and ELL students you teach that are trying to work in different languages, because they can use that for lots of reasons. It's also good for students that are struggling with learning problems. So that's good too. So this is a dashboard. And so thinking about a dashboard, if you haven't done Teams before, this would be where like period 1, period 2, period 3, period 4. These are just different training events. Or if I were a self-contained classroom, I would only see one. And so the way I make a team when I'm here, I just go up here to the top corner. And let me see if this will get any bigger for you. Some screens will, yeah, that one will. Join or create a team, and this is what I get. So I can create my team here, or if someone, including your students, if you make a code for your students to join, if that's the way you decide to go, and it makes it easier for you, they join one time, they're in it. And so I would have generated the code, and your students would have logged into Teams and gone straight up to that corner and said, join a team with a code. Or for you right now, we're going to create a team. So if you're with us and you want to do this with us, this is the time to just go on and get into Teams and let's create a team together. And please feel free to ask questions or put something in the chat as we continue going. So I'm going to just click Create Team. And the next thing I'll see is my options we talked about earlier. Is it going to be a class team, a PLC, staff, other? Well, we're going to do class because we're talking about personalizing learning. So that, of course, makes me think we're talking about a classroom. So you would select the class team. And this is where you're going to name it. If you want to do a real one right now, one of the ones you'll be using, you're welcome to. Or you can just do a play one and just put practice team or sample team or whatever you want to do just to get used to it. And so I could say this is environmental science. And I may say period P1 for period 1. And then I can give it a description if I want to. And so I could go on and type that in there. For time's sake, I won't do that. But notice down here it says I can create a team using an existing team as a template. So if I create one team, now I can actually use the other one as a template. There are other tricks for that too. But I'm just going to go on and just click Next for now. And now I can start adding students. And when you start adding students, if you decide you're adding your own, as soon as you start typing, it's going to start populating people. So I have a lot of different aliases to myself here, lots of different Julene Reeds showing up. And so I'm going to be a student here. I'm going to also pick another one. And I'll just be student 1 here. And I can keep going. Now, these are not the same tenant. And what is a tenant? Tenant is the Microsoft infrastructure that your school or district has. Google has their domain, and you have a tenant, same thing. So it's pretty much the setup that they arranged with Microsoft. And so when you're trying to connect another tenant, like another school or district or organization with yours at your school or district, it gets really tricky and you don't have the same permissions. So even though I'm adding people as students, they're going to show probably as guests, or this one might be in my tenant, but I know that if I add someone like this one down here, let's see if I do J Reed 11, that's my Lamar one from my professor of my graduate teaching, that one's probably going to say guest. These two are in the Microsoft tenant. This one's a guest. I'm just a guest here. And so I can also add teachers here. So if I have a co-teacher, a collaborator, I could add teachers here as well. So I might just go on and see. I don't know that I can add a student for as a teacher. I was going to see if I did student 2 because I haven't used them. Maybe it'll let me. Yeah. Oh, it did. So I have a co-teacher now. That was just a test because it's an account in the domain. Normally you wouldn't put a student as a teacher, but you can keep doing that. That's one way you can populate them if your district's not doing it for you. And so now we're here. So we're in our team. We've created our team. We're going to look briefly at this, and then I'm going to talk to you about how to personalize it and ways you can really use it for grouping, for different subjects or topics of study, and the different options that team and assignments and class notebook all have in here. So we know it's a teacher, we know it's a class notebook because we have class notebook here. So we know we made a class notebook. I'm going to make this a little smaller so I can see everything across the top there. And so this one's environmental science. And if you just created one, you've got this little generic icon of some kind. If you hover it and click on the pencil, you can make it be whatever you'd like and just add your icon to be whatever you want to be. So the icons help the students because then they can identify the class without having to read it if they're in another language or something, if they're not fluent in English yet, or if they're early language learners of some kind, like early learners. And this one's not going to stop. Yeah, that happens. Let me bounce back out if I can. You know, once in a while, that kind of gets glitchy on me, and usually it comes right back. So we'll see. If not, I'm ready to move in a different direction. So not a worry, because I'm going to stop sharing here. And maybe if I come back, it'll behave. Nope, it's not going to. So I'm going to take that out and go into, I'm going to go back and do my sharing with the full screen again. I don't know what's happening with this today. It's been fine, but all of a sudden tonight it's different. All right, we're back. So I'll just do the online version. That's okay. I'm not going to worry about it. And so now I'm in the 365. You see it's the same. So now I was creating a class. I don't think it, yep, there it is. It actually created it. So there's the class I was creating, and there I am. So same thing we just did. I just backed out. We're not going to change this now. And so in the team, I have general, I have posts, and that will be posts that I post here. General is just like the general, the whole room, the whole class, the whole team. Anything I put in general, it's like shouting to the room because anything I add here goes to everybody on the team. And then I can put files here if I want to. These are team files, not to be confused with class notebook files. But I can put any files I want here on this team, and I can upload them. I can, you know, download them, do new ones right here, create a new one right here. These are files that the whole team will see, or the whole class. I can download all of that. And then I have class notebook, and we'll look at that in a second. I have my assignments, and if you haven't done assignments in teams, they're super awesome. So this is one of the ways we can differentiate, and this will be your grades or your grade book. And so that's great, creating great assignments to start tracking class projects. And they are progress, and they're actually doing a lot of APIs and different things. If you're using an SMS or an LMS or whatever, SIS or an LMS, there are lots of ways that you can integrate with your class, your grading system sometimes, and you'll just have to see if it's one of the ones that's working with Microsoft. So let's start with this question. Why would you use files versus class notebook? And that's a great question, because if you're going to put them in class notebook, you probably don't need them in files too. That's just the truth. It's just one or the other. Some people may not use a class notebook and may only use Teams, and files is accessible in lots of places. So for instance, the work we're doing with all of these sessions is a Microsoft team. If I click on Teams here and go back, it's actually this one here. That's a Global Ed Tech Academy. And so we do have some files up in here. And that's going to be all the files, whether they're in the class notebook or not. So you might have some there that are going for other reasons. You might put them there. It's just one of the standard things built in. Yes, and class materials is a place where students can view the files and not edit. And can you put subfolders in class materials? I think you can segment them. We'll look and see. So I'm going to show you some of the other ways to do that too. If that's the wrong team, let's go back here. That one, there we go. So one thing I want to talk to you about first is channels. This is your first thought about how do you personalize with channels. And so what is a channel? A channel is a subgroup. So this is our whole team. This is the whole class. I can create channels, and these channels can be created in different ways. They could be around a unit of study. Some people like to put a topic there that they're teaching, maybe extreme weather, and then maybe something else like biomes and ecosystems, you know, making up things to go with this theme. Or maybe they're working in groups, and I want to break my team into breakout groups. And to me, I think that's probably the most powerful. And so if I'm going to add a channel, this is where I go right here. I can manage my whole team right here at these three dots. If I went to manage team, I can actually go to settings here, and this is where I can generate my team code, by the way, for them to join. And there's lots of different things here that I can organize through the settings. And so this is where I go back to add more members later. But I'm just going to get out of that now and go to general again. And the other thing I can do right here with these three dots is add a channel. So I'm going to call this one group 1. And you may give it a more personal title than that, or a more specific one. And so this is going to be, I'm going to put group 1 dash, we're studying extreme weather. This one's going to be tornadoes. We in some parts of the world have never known what we talked about when we say that, but that's lucky you. And so I can give a description. These are two important things. Do I want everybody to see this, or is it only going to be for students in that group? So if I have 5 students in the group, I would make it private and add it only for those 5. And only those 5 students could see that channel. For this one, I'm going to leave it open just for our process today. But if I'll do one in a minute where it's specific. And I want to show it in everyone's channel list. That's up to you. Do you want everyone to see it, even if there's a padlock that says they're locked out of it? You know, that's fine. They'll understand why there is one. So here it comes. So there's a channel for tornadoes. And if I go here, I can always go back and I can set my notifications for the channel. I can manage a channel. I can get a link. I can edit it again. I'm going to go up and I'm going to make another one. So I'm going up to these 3 dots by the team. And I'm going to go on and I'm going to add another channel. And so this one's going to be group 2. And we have another hurricane building up, I think. So I'm going to call this one hurricanes. And you get the idea. I don't need to make a lot of these. This will be open. And I'll let that be shown to you. So you see there's no padlock or anything. So let's say I have a student I'm having to really work with a lot of remediation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add this student here because I'm having to really work with this student. Come on, let's do it again. Give it a second. Hold on. More options. Let me refresh. It's typical what's happening today, but here it comes. Okay, so there we are. I'm going to have one more channel here. And this one I'm going to call J. Reed, which is one of my aliases I'm using. But I would just name it with that person's name. This one I don't want to show. This one I want to be private. And this one, when I go to next, wants to know who to put in it. So I want to put J. Reed in it. I would go through and find J. Reed, and I would add that person to the channel. I'm not a member of the team because I'm only a guest. But we can add something. We can add somebody else. That's okay. We'll add Julene. We'll add Julene, student, whatever it is. Student 1 or 3. We'll add this one. That'll work. Done. So we're going to add her because she is. I'm not a member of the team either. Whatever. It's like, yes, I am. Let's go look. Let's go look at my team and see. Why are you telling me I'm not? Because I added, oh, you know what? When it froze or something a while ago, it didn't keep them, did it? So we're going to add a member real quick and we'll get it in there. So add a student, J. Reed. There we go. We'll just add that one again. And we'll add them when we close. All right, now, hopefully you'll let me do this. If I go back and manage this channel, there it is. Let's see if I can add somebody now, add a member. And we'll do J. Reed. This is what happens sometimes when you're working in different tenants, but I think this has to do with the way it froze on me earlier. So there we go. So now there's somebody in this channel. There's one person in that channel. Anything I would put, notice the icon is locked. So if I had shown it, then it would have a lock here. But I wouldn't want to show one. I wouldn't want that one to be private. I did not check the box for that. So I did not check the box to make that one visible in everybody's list. And so if I'm doing remediation with a couple students, I wouldn't make it visible. It would be visible to them, but not to anybody else. And anything I put in these groups or these channels, anything I add, any files I add here, and this is where files does come in handy. Because maybe for tornadoes, I'm going to give just that group some files on tornadoes. So I could give them their own files. For someone needing remediation, Jay Reed, who needs remediation, now I can just give Jay Reed some files. So this is like a little private team, a sub-team. This is a sub-team, and this is a sub-team. And so as I'm doing this, it's really nice for that differentiation, that personalized learning, because I could have accelerated groups. I could have, groups divided by lots of different ways. And if they're doing a unit on tornadoes, when I'm done with it, I can either hide it or I can delete it. That was a temporary channel. It doesn't have to stay. So once they're done with that one, it can be temporary. And so you said, does each group have to have their own link to the channel? Well, here's the link. But remember when we went up, this is from one of you just asked a question. So when I went up here and I managed the channel, or if I add a channel, and I added, this is group 3, and this is May Floods. Add this one, it's going to be accessible to everybody on the team. And I could add it, I could make it, private and just put the people in that group. So if the people in that group are listed, they will automatically see it populate. They don't have to have the link, it will show on the side, or I can also share it here. So if I do it that way, I can give them a link, but as soon as they look in their teams, they're going to see, oh, here's Floods, that's my channel, because I can hide these other two, or these two will have a padlock like that. So I don't have to give them the link. You can if you want to, but you don't have to. So when you're in these channels, though, what's really nice is anything you post in conversations, and we're going to talk about that in a second, isn't going to the whole team. Anything I post here is, you guys need to really get to work today. Get to work today because you're behind or whatever. That's only going to go to the tornado team. Nobody else will know that. I forgot the guys, but you get it. Or if I need to give this student here, sure to answer the review questions. Anything I'm doing here is just going to that one student and nobody else will see it. These are just going to those groups. Now they're public right now, but if I made them private with just the students' names, they would only see it. Only they would see that. So it's a private chat around a channel. So that conversation is one way you can also differentiate and personalize. And you have, with the channels, you have the conversation that's separate, and you also have the files that you can add just for that one specific channel. And then you come back to general, and this is everybody. And now when I say anything here, that goes to the whole team. That goes to everybody. That's like the shouting to the room. Everyone's going to see anything I put here. And in teams, when you're in teams, and I don't know how much I can, let's see, hide that. Okay. When you're in teams, this conversation itself is really powerful because I can put different fonts and styles, but I can make it put attachments. I have happy gifs and emojis, and I can turn those off or on, those stickers, gifs, and emojis. If I don't want our students to access those, I can have those shut down. It's just a preference in my settings. And those settings where I showed you team settings, you just go down there and it offers you the ability to turn them off there. I can start a team meeting right here. So if I'm up here and I'm in this meeting, I have the ability to start my team meeting for my whole class right here without even scheduling it. I can do it right there. Otherwise, I can schedule it through the calendar. There's multiple ways to schedule my team meeting, and I'll talk about that in just a second. YouTube videos, I can add any of these things, make a quick form, anything right here, and more apps still. So the power of this conversation to get your class started every day is really good. Let me get back here and see what this question is. In the calendar, you can schedule a meeting on the channel other than the general. To resolve the situation, you schedule a meeting. I do it through the channel email. Well, yes, and. So there's a couple things changing here. So if I went to a meeting for this channel, this is how I understand it. If I go up here, and not everyone may see this, and this is the thing we don't understand. I was working with Tucson Unified School District in Arizona. I see this. They didn't see that here. They always had to go to calendar to schedule a meeting. But when I'm here, I can say meet now or schedule a meeting if I do have that. And that meet now, I'm going to block it for now. I'm just going to get out of it. I'm just going to go back because I really don't want that. That meet now supposedly should just be, if I'm here when I do it, it should just be for that channel. And supposedly you can have up to 4 different meetings going at one time. So as I schedule here, and I have it for 4 groups and they all have their independent individual meetings, then you can go in here, you can check out, see what their meeting's going, how it's going. You can drop in and out of meetings. Now, don't even worry about that, I don't think. Or that's the way to do it. Because Microsoft just announced last week they're coming up with groups, breakout groups. So they'll have the breakout rooms or the groups. And so it'll be even more. So for you, Alfonso, it will be even more simple. They're going to make it more streamlined. So you don't have to do it the backdoor way like you were doing it. And the way I thought I was doing was correct. I haven't done it. I was just told that. But theoretically, you should be able to have up to 4 of them going at one time right now. Yes, and Microsoft has just announced the breakout rooms. So they're going to have those breakout rooms and you'll be able to meet. So try it both ways. Just try a sample with just one person in a channel and see if you can meet now if it's just that channel and if the whole team sees it or just that person. But theoretically, you should be able to be in 4. And so that's a great way to personalize too. And as they're working in different meetings, you can be dropping in and out with them. And so it depends on your culture and your classroom. Have you established the norms? But, even my granddaughter today said, my teacher last Friday had a meeting with us. We were supposed to have a meeting with her and she forgot because it was a Friday. And she said, so we were there like 30 minutes before she got there. But you know what we did? We all started working on our projects and talking to each other, how we're going to manage our projects. She's going into 7th grade. I was like, I'm so proud of you guys. They didn't just like randomly go crazy. They all got together and got organized and went for it. So having those, norms set and understanding the expectations and knowing this is a great time to really be working together was really good. And they were going over their summer assignments here in the States. So those are all really nice that you have the ability to drop in and out and to do different things here. And like I said, you can post, you can put notes here. So in each group, I have my own little mini notebook. So each group can have their own little kind of mini class notebook or notebook that I can add notes to. It doesn't have sections here. And maybe I can add a section, but I don't think so, no. But I can add pages. So there's a page. So this could be tornado resources. So I could use the files, but I could also use this and put things here for this group on tornadoes and have things here. And they could share things here too, because it's their shared notebook. So they have a shared group notebook here. And those sections is just those pages because it's just focused on that one group or be focused on Julene who wasn't doing so well. So I can put files there too. And put, post there too. I don't know. Actually, there's no notes in that one because it's one person. That's interesting. I didn't know that. So you get the idea, though, of how you can differentiate with channels. And that's, like I said, improving. You'll have the channels, but you're also going to have breakout rooms. Just keep watching. Right now, what they're rolling out, as far as talking about the team meetings and being able to go up here and whether you see this or not, but schedule a meeting or meet now. They just announced about a week and a half ago, and they're actually rolling out right this minute in different tenants. And when they roll things out with Microsoft, just like any other big organizational structure like Google or whatever in their classroom and domains. Don't hit every school district at the same time. It's too much. So they're rolling out, it's populating in some, and like the one down the street may have it and you don't have it yet. So your district should get it all at the same time, or your school, if you're independent, should get it at the same time, but it's not all going to get it at the same time. Channels, so in what's going to be similar to Google Classrooms is going to be your assignments and your class notebook. So we'll look at that, Marilyn, in just a second. And so with this, you know, as we're doing this, thinking about, you know, how can I use these to individualize and how can I use these to differentiate? Those are huge. So let me go because we are getting close to the end, but I'll stay a few minutes over because we had a little rough start. So if you're not going anywhere, I'll stay extra, but I'll try to get through the content first and then I'll stay extra for you to be able to ask questions or anything. So when I'm in here and I'm in my general, and let me get it small again because I don't see everything. You can click on assignments right now at the top. So go to general assignments. So in Google, the conversation, I mean, if you're used to the Google Stream at the bottom where you can talk to your students, that's actually, if I go back to general and just look at it and get out of this is like Google Stream. In class, when you're in Google Classroom, this is your stream, only it's in your team. Yeah, it's in your team. And so that would be, think of your stream. And then this is going to be in assignments. It's just like your assignments in Google Classroom. So if you've been working in that, it's going to be the same thing. You just have to get used. I mean, you'll get used to it. You'll go, okay, I know I use this in Google. I get it. And honestly, in some ways, some people are fearful because the interface is a little different and it's not quite as immediately intuitive, but as it was in Google for some people. But the good thing is you have all that background knowledge from working in Google because now that all makes it almost easier for you as long as you understand the big ecosystem, the picture. So the picture is the tenant, and then the district or the school has SharePoint, which is like the big overarching cloud drive. And then you each have OneDrive, which is like your Google Drive. And so then you have OneDrive or Google Drive. And then within that, you have all your apps. And there are two things that are really important here. Always have your kids start in Office 365 in the cloud, always. You can have both on your devices. And sometimes you'll need to go to the more robust desktop version of an app, but start in Office 365 for the kids every time because then they can access it anywhere on any computer just by signing in. B, it's automatically gonna, if you open it then from the browser into your desktop, they'll automatically start syncing, which makes it super easy. If you start on the desktop and then decide to put it in the cloud, it's a little trickier. So even for you, I just would recommend always starting in the cloud. And if you want to pull it down to the desktop, it just says open in desktop app at the top. And you click that and you're down the bottom in the desktop version. And then you can toggle back and forth and they're going to sync automatically with the newest changes. And assignments is like your assignments in Classroom where you just go and you create. And so I just want to quickly show you how to differentiate here and then also how to differentiate in class notebook. So I create an assignment. I can do it from an existing assignment, or I can do it from just a brand new one, or I can do a quiz right here. And I'm just going to say weather quiz or weather project. This is going to be my assignment. And I can save it, I can assign it as I'm working, and I can schedule it for a certain time. So I give them the instructions here. I can set up categories. I can add resources. So when I add resources here, I can be adding all kinds of things, or I can make something right here. I can go from my OneDrive, or if I didn't make anything advanced, I can open a Word document here and attach it. So I could just say weather research paper. So I've just made a Word document that's called weather research paper. It says students can't edit, but if I go to these three dots, I can say edit their own copy. So it's going to make a copy for every student. They'll each have their own. And I can keep adding resources. I have a rubric I can make. I can give it points. I can assign it to multiple classes, not just environmental science. So if I teach several sections, but this is the part I want to show you. Does it go to all your students, or I'm going to change it and just do it to a few students? So you have the ability right here, and it's just not pulling it in right now because it's such a tiny class, but you would have the ability to pull in, this assignment just goes to these 3 students. So this is another way you can differentiate right here. And you can, set your due dates and all of that. And do you want to go to the general channel, or do I want to just to go to that one specific channel? So that would be good for that student that you're remediating with or something. And then you would just assign it. And so you have, rubrics you can create are super easy to have your rubrics. You give your points, everything that you would normally do in, another situation you can do here too. So if you were using Google Classroom before, it's the same thing. It's just assignments and teams. And the last thing is class notebook. This is your other way that you can personalize learning and differentiate with teams. And so if I set up a class notebook, what this does, for those of you who are new, you can use existing notebook content or a blank one. I'm going to do a blank one. And what this does, for those of you who haven't learned about class notebook yet, and I did a session this morning, if you want to look at the recording for that, it'll be posted probably by tomorrow. It's where you push a notebook out to every student. So it's a OneNote notebook for everybody in your class, and you have control over it. You set it up and you push it out to everybody in the class. And you are like the 3-ring binder that has different colored tabs with cardstock and the paper or pages behind. It's the same thing, only it's digital. And you get to help control what those tabs or sections are called and what content you put in it. So in here, we have collaboration space, which you can leave on or off. And at the beginning, I'll show you, that's easy to do. And my content library here. So when you heard someone say, why would I put it in my content and files if I can put in the content library? So these would be your content, your information that you would put here. Then you also have a teacher only section. This used to be something you had to add. It didn't come in automatically, and hallelujah, everybody had to go do it manually. And this is new, it shows up automatically. And then all the students. So content library, nobody can edit it except you, but kids can see it. Teacher only is your private space. And student notebooks, you get to see it. The other students can't see it, but the student who's working in it gets to see, you get to see that student's notebook and work and leave messages or whatever, and add feedback. And they can edit in their notebook, and they can add to their notebook, but that's the notebook you created. So you just go to next. These will be your tabs. You can use the ones that exist. You can change them to be any name you want. You can add more. So you have the ability to X out of tabs, add new sections, and those, when they say sections, it's that tab with like the section in your notebook that was that cardstock. And then you just create it. And so the beauty of this that I just want to show you quickly is that when I'm here, and actually what I'm going to do for time's sake, I'm going to go back to the one I did earlier today. And this is the class notebook here because it's going to make it the same way at this point. So here's the class notebook. It's just like a OneNote notebook. And when I hit this little arrow here, it expands it. So here's that a welcome. These are just placeholder text, pages with placeholder text you can read and delete. And then I have my collaboration space, and I have this chevron where I can expand it and read what it says in both places. That again is just placeholder text. Here's that content library we talked about, putting things in the content library and using the content library. So earlier today, I put a page with tree frog information on it. And so here's a page that has a lot of information and an assignment for kids to do within their notebook on tree frogs. And if you were here earlier, this would move around for them possibly. And what I found out what I remember that I was just not thinking this morning, this is a PDF. And they can write right on it and not have to print it out or have a paper copy. But if you export that PDF before you insert it, if you export it as an image, a picture, like a JPEG or something, Then you can set that as a background image. You right click it and it won't move. It'll take up their page and now they can just do their work right there on that page. Here's my teacher only section that I created that came in automatically. So if I look at my teacher only section, this is an area where I can have pages that they can't see. It's a private space for my materials. So if I want to share it to my class, I can later push it out. These are 2 students. So these would be the 2 students that I created my notebook for. And this would be their tabs and their sections. And then in this one earlier, I pushed out the tree frog. So let me just show you that. And then I think we're about ready to wind this up. And then I'm going to stay extra to talk with those that want to stay and talk. But I'm going to wind this up and take you to the slides again so you can see the slides that have where you get to go to get a copy of the slides. But now in my class notebook, it was up here. These are my team file settings, my team menu. Here is my class notebook menu. And when I go to class notebook, if you want to turn off the the collaboration space, you go to manage notebooks. And right here, I can lock that collaboration space. Here's where I could change the tabs. I could add sections, whatever, if I want to rename them. And then if I go back, when I close it, that collaboration space should be hiding for them. They won't see it. I will see it, but they won't see it. So it'll be locked for them. But what I do here when I'm in class notebook, and this is the beauty of this, I can distribute a page in their notebook. I can distribute a whole section in their notebook. I can copy content over. I can review all the student work here. But what I love about this is if I distribute a page, I can do this. It'll go to everybody in the team. If I go to individual distribution, I get to pick. So now I get to say only J. Reed's going to get this page because I'm working with her. That's hers. And then I say next. And that asks me, where do I want to push that out to? And I'm going to put that on homework. And I distribute it. And now it takes a second and you'll go through this process. Do not do this when the kids walk in the room. That was one student with not much on it. But sometimes it takes a little bit of time. So if I go down here to this one and I look in homework, I would have the untitled page that I distributed. Now, what you have to do when you distribute, you wouldn't really want an untitled page. You would want to put something in the content area or the teacher only area and pick the page. You would create a page and then you would, here is the tree frog one I did. So I could create another page and I could have all the work on it and I could call this tornadoes. Tornadoes and then do review. So you would want to have that page ready to distribute. We didn't do that because I was just showing the process. But you put all your assets here. You put any, if you have a YouTube video, if you paste it in, I'll embed the video. All you have to do is paste the link. If you had other resources, this is the page you're going to distribute. If it's an assignment, if it has details for the assignment or anything, then you would just say, push this tornado review, and I'm going to distribute this to everybody. I can do it to groups as well, and I'm going to put this in class notes and distribute. So in just a second, this one will be for everybody. This should show up in everybody's. It says it's done, and sometimes it takes a second. But now if I look in everybody's class notes down here, I should see that tornado page. There it is, tornado review. So this is the beauty of Class Notebook 2, that you can push things out. And then when I get ready to review student work, I can close that one and I could say, come on, class notes. I think that's where I put it. Go to next. And I want to review, I'll say, what do you want to review? That's the only thing there. And now here's one person's class notes, here's another, and I would actually see their real work here. And now I could be interacting with them here and leaving them feedback. So you notice something that drives me crazy, and I don't know why, and I think it's a glitch, but I see that Jacqueline noticed this because notice in this notebook, and actually let me go back to the one we made a minute ago. This drives me crazy. I don't know why it does this. because it shouldn't. You're putting them in there. And so what it's doing right now is if I go back to this notebook, and maybe I decided that everybody's going to have these 4, but then I go to the next student and they're not in the same order. And it makes me crazy. I get it. I don't know why it's doing that. It feels like a glitch. It's something Microsoft needs to fix. So all I can do is I can go there and I can drag those around and put them in different places. So I can do that as well. So the only thing I know to do is do that manual dragging. And so now let me just get out of this for a second and take you back. I'm going to quit presenting for just a second. And then we're going to come back and we'll be able to answer questions and things. But let me stop presenting and give me just one second here. Okay, so let's see right here. We are going to present the PowerPoint again because I want to finish. Actually, I think I can just do it here without having to change all of that. I want you to see the last slides, and I want you to see exactly what. Yeah, I'll do that. It just got crazy again, but I'm back. So I want you to see the PowerPoint again, and I want you to see the location where you can go to get the presentation. So here we go. And let me pull this up so you can see it. And let me know in the chat, are you seeing that okay? Or somebody open their mic and tell me, are you seeing that okay? Now my Teams is acting up here. Hold on just a second. I think it's time to call it a day here for some reason. So let me just make sure I'm getting my chat. And let me go to the right window. Yeah, it's not even coming in there. All righty, let me do this one more way. Hold on, be patient. I'm going to stop this. And let me open it again. Close it. Dismiss. Okay, now I think we should be coming back. There we go. Yay. I can hear you. I'm hearing me anyway. So let's see if you're back. Yeah, okay, good. You're seeing it. So sorry about that. I don't know what's going on with Teams today, but it's, I think it's something on my end, not on your end. So that's okay. So let me get the slides back for you here. And let me just change my sharing now, if it will let me, so that you're seeing just the slides. And if you have your mic open, would you go ahead and close it right now while I finish this last little piece, please? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the glitch is. Okay, let's try this. This should work. Hold on. Let me get that mic closed over here. There we go. Okay, there we go. All right, so if I go back here one more time, and let me pull down to the slide we want, because we've kind of gone through a lot here. Let me guess to where we are. And then we'll come back for any questions and anything else you might have. And I don't know what's happened today, because usually this is super seamless, but it's just me and my day. It's ready for the weekend. All right, so on the slides here, let me make sure we have all the mics closed, because I'm still hearing somebody's mic. I go right here. Just make sure your mics are closed. For some reason, I'm hearing an echo. So we have lots of ideas and examples. Let me try it here, see if I can see it. Yeah, I'm not seeing it there, so I don't know why it's doing that. So we have an example here. I think whose it is. It's mine, I think. Let's see if my mic is on. This will help. That did it. Or not. Leave the meeting there. That should do it. Okay. Crazy teams today. I don't know what's going on. But anyway, back to here. So we have gone through all of this. We've gone hands-on. You know to do your teams. I have examples here. The one I want you to look at on your own time is this first one. This one's awesome. Look at that one, that very first one that has student examples from classrooms where you can look at it. Then it has even the life cycle of the tree frog there. I've given you lots of resources. The Microsoft Educator community, and the link is at the bottom there, has tons of resources for you as well. And then the presentation slides that you'll be able to get the PDF of are at this URL, bit.ly.com/qslides. So feel free to go there. There are others there as well. You're welcome to grab. In addition, if you go to the YouTube channel, if you go to Microsoft.com, if you go to q.org, cue.org/Microsoft, you can see all the presentations, and I'll have a link to the YouTube channel with the earlier presentations as well. And so just going to q.org/Microsoft will get you there. And that's really what I have for today, but I am going to just go on and stop the recording. And then I'm going to stay for anybody who would like to ask any questions or wants me to show